The girl who hadn't spoken since her kidnapping clung to the maid's leg and whispered, "Don't go." The CEO's eyes locked on her, and in that instant everything changed. "CEO, I swear I'll find the top therapist to cure the young Mrs. Mutism. How many times is this?" The 99th time. Who knew the right healer would be this elusive? "If there's a next time, you'll go mop floors yourself." "Yes, sir." "Demi, is the dining room spotless yet? Guests are arriving." "Coming." "Wow, that shine is perfect." "Floyd, you'll earn Employee of the Month. The bonus is $1,000. If I get that, I can pay off those old foster care debts." The clatter of crystal glasses and the faint scent of polish filled the air as Demi Floyd moved through the grand lobby of Gilbert Resorts, her gloved hands guiding the mop with practiced ease. Her mind drifted to the cramped foster homes of her past, where she'd learned to soothe crying children with nothing but a lullaby and a smile. Overworked, underpaid, she found solace in these small acts, unaware her life was about to shift. If you believe that one small act can make a huge difference, like this video and hit the subscribe button. Now let's move on. Stop the limo. Sir, even world-famous psychologists couldn't break her silence. This is just a luxury hotel lobby. We can't help either. Oh, bring in the best nannies and specialists. This is our top child expert, with a PhD in play therapy. Wait, you're approaching her wrong. This fancy place has some nerve with these overpriced gimmicks. You've never even tried Gilbert Resorts' elite services. What's there to boast about? Sir, let's just leave this lobby. Who knows if it's even welcoming? The tension broke as a small figure slipped past the experts. Natalie Gilbert, her wide eyes locked on Demi. Nannies reached out, therapists called her name, but she shrank away, her silence a fortress since that kidnapping 2 years ago. Then, Demi hummed a soft tune, her voice a gentle wave, and offered a warm smile. Natalie hesitated, then clung to her, whispering, "Pretty lady, stay." The room stilled. Davis Gilbert, standing in the shadows, felt a jolt, an undeniable spark. He stepped forward, his tailored suit a stark contrast to Demi's humble uniform. "You," he said, voice low but firm. "I need you to help her. Name your price." Whispers rippled through the staff, racial undertones, class divides, but Demi hesitated, clutching her mop. "I'm just a maid, sir. I've got duties." Her debts flashed in her mind, the weight of her guardian's fading health. "But I'll try." Davis nodded, offering a temporary nanny role despite the murmurs. As she followed him out, a figure lingered in the distance. Victoria, his ex-wife, her eyes narrowing with a plot brewing. The limo rolled toward the Gilbert mansion, its grandeur looming with bodyguards at the gates. Inside, Natalie tugged Demi to a corner, her small hands trembling as she shared fragmented memories of masked figures and a dark van. Demi knelt, drawing on her orphan past to guide her with play therapy, her heart aching with each word Natalie spoke. Davis watched, his cold facade cracking, drawn to the warmth Demi brought. Flashbacks flickered, Demi abandoned as a baby due to racial shame, raised in foster care, her intelligence honed through survival. A phone rang in the hall and Demi froze, catching a fragment of a conversation. Related to the old partner's line. Her breath hitched. Was this connection more than chance? The clink of a glass shattered the moment as Victoria stepped into view, her smile venomous. A gold digger, Davis? Planted by rivals, no doubt. She waved forged theft records, the staff's whispers growing louder. Demi's chest tightened, but she held Natalie closer, unaware the shadows held secrets that would soon explode into a battle for love and justice. Demi Floyd stepped out of the sleek black limo, her modest duffel bag slung over one shoulder, feeling like an intruder in a world of polished marble and gilded edges. The Gilbert mansion loomed before her, a sprawling estate with towering columns and manicured gardens, just as she'd glimpsed in glossy magazines during her breaks at the hotel. Bodyguards in dark suits flanked the grand staircase, their eyes scanning the horizon like silent sentinels, hands resting near concealed holsters. The air carried the faint scent of blooming roses mixed with the crisp tang of security, reminders that this wasn't just a home, but a fortress against unseen threats. "Welcome, Miss Floyd," Davis Gilbert said curtly, holding Natalie's hand as they ascended the steps. The little girl glanced up at Demi with wide, trusting eyes, her yellow dress fluttering in the breeze. "You'll have a guest suite. Security will show you around. Natalie needs you close." Demi nodded, her heart pounding. "Thank you, sir. I won't let her down." Inside, the mansion unfolded like a labyrinth of luxury. Crystal chandeliers casting rainbows on velvet rugs, walls lined with abstract art that probably cost more than her lifetime earnings. A stern-faced housekeeper led her to a room with a four-poster bed and a balcony overlooking the grounds. As she unpacked her few belongings, a worn photo of her guardian, some faded clothes, memories flooded back. Abandoned as a baby on the steps of a church, whispers of racial shame from a mother who couldn't face the world's judgment. Foster homes blurred together. Cold nights huddling with other kids, learning to read emotions like a survival skill, turning her pain into quiet intelligence. She'd outsmarted bullies, navigated systems, but never dreamed of this. If only her guardian could see her now. How could anyone turn away from a story like this without wanting more? Don't abandon Demi and her vulnerability. Subscribe now to witness her rise, or you'll miss the heartbreak and hope that binds us all. That afternoon, Demi found Natalie in the sunlit playroom, a space filled with untouched toys and storybooks gathering dust. The girl sat curled in a corner, staring blankly at a puzzle. Drawing on her orphaned days, Demi knelt beside her. "Hey, sweetie. Remember that lullaby from the hotel? Want to build a fort instead? Like a secret hideout where no bad guys can find us." Natalie's eyes flickered with interest. Together, they draped blankets over chairs, creating a cozy tent. Inside, Demi pulled out crayons and paper. "Draw what you remember, or we can make up stories. No rush." It was play therapy she'd improvised in foster care, letting kids express what words couldn't. Natalie hesitated, then sketched shaky lines. A van, masked figures. "Dark, cold," she whispered, her voice fragile as glass. Demi's chest tightened. "You're safe now. Tell me more if you want." Fragmented memories spilled out, the screech of tires, a blindfold, her mother's, Victoria's, voice arguing on the phone before it all went wrong. Demi listened, her own fears bubbling up. What if she failed? What if this pull toward Davis, the way his gaze lingered, was just a dangerous illusion? The emotional weight of Natalie's trust mirrored Demi's own lost childhood. How could you not feel compelled to follow this journey? Hit subscribe. Don't leave these fragile hearts exposed without your support, or the shadows might swallow them whole. From the doorway, Davis watched unseen, his usual icy demeanor softening. Demi's laughter with Natalie was a balm in his sterile world of boardrooms and betrayals. He'd built an empire from nothing, but the kidnapping had shattered him. Natalie taken for ransom, returned broken. Victoria had vanished soon after, leaving him to piece it together alone. Demi's warmth was a contrast, stirring something he hadn't felt in years. But trust. That was a luxury he couldn't afford, especially with rivals like Marcus Hale whispering doubts to investors, undercutting deals in the shadows. As days blurred into a routine, corporate shadows crept in. In his study, Davis paced during a late-night call. The merger's at risk. Marcus Hale's circling, spreading rumors to tank our stock. His rival CEO at Hale Enterprises was ruthless, exploiting every vulnerability. Bodyguards doubled shifts, their presence a constant hum of tension, radios crackling, eyes darting to every corner. Then, Victoria reappeared like a storm. One evening, as Demi tucked Natalie in, the front doors burst open. Victoria swept in, her designer coat swirling, flanked by two lawyers. "Davis, what is this?" Her eyes locked on Demi, narrowing with venom. "A maid? In my house? With my daughter?" Davis emerged from his office, face hardening. "Ex-house, Victoria. What do you want?" She thrust a folder forward. "Proof. This woman's a thief. Forged records from her foster days. Stole from homes, manipulated systems. She's a gold digger, planted by your rivals to worm her way in." The documents looked official. Arrest warrants, witness statements, all fabricated but convincing. Staff hovered in the halls, murmuring. "Can't trust her kind," one whispered, racial prejudice lacing the words like poison. Demi stepped forward, Natalie peeking from the stairs. "That's not true. I've never." Victoria laughed, sharp as a blade. "Who are you, really? Some inner-city orphan thinking she can play house? Look at you. Doesn't belong here, does she, Davis? What's your lineage, girl? You remind me of someone. Someone who should have stayed hidden." The accusation hung heavy, echoing Demi's deepest fears, hinting at buried connections she couldn't yet grasp. Internal conflict raged. Attraction to Davis's rare smiles warred with terror of exposure. Was this her place? Or just another rejection waiting? Imagine walking away now, leaving Demi to face this alone, subscribe to stay by her side, or the guilt of abandonment will linger like these whispers. Davis snatched the folder. "Get out, Victoria. These are lies." But the damage seeped in. Board members called the next day, voices laced with doubt. A scandal like this? With her background? It invites prejudice, Davis. Hale's exploiting it, spreading rumors about infiltrators to force you out. Demi faced glares from staff, a butler accidentally spilling coffee near her, a maid muttering slurs under her breath. The mansion's opulence felt oppressive now, bodyguards' watchful eyes amplifying the isolation, as if the walls themselves conspired against her. That night, as thunder rumbled outside, Demi wandered the halls, unable to sleep. Passing Davis's study, she overheard a muffled phone call. The old partner's daughter. Illegitimate, but the lineage matches. If she's connected, it changes everything. The inheritance, the empire. Her blood ran cold. Davis's deceased business partner. Could that be her father? The secret identity she'd buried deep hinted at surfacing, pulling her into a web she never asked for. How heartbreaking to think of Demi discovering this alone. Don't let her story end in shadows. Subscribe now, or you'll forever regret not being there for her emotional triumph. Demi Floyd slipped into the dimly lit archives of Gilbert Resort's main office, her footsteps echoing softly on the tiled floor. The room smelled of aged paper and dust, a stark contrast to the gleaming lobby she'd once mopped. Armed with a borrowed keycard, swiped during a late-night errand for Davis, she rifled through yellowed files, her heart racing from the overheard phone call. Old partner's daughter, lineage matches. The words haunted her. What if her abandonment wasn't random? Pulling a folder labeled Gilbert Partnerships, Confidential, she scanned documents. Birth records, hushed settlements. There it was, a faded certificate naming her as the illegitimate child of Davis's half-sister, concealed due to scandal and racial prejudices. The secret identity hit like a wave. She was an heiress, tied to this empire by blood. Her hands trembled. This could change everything, or destroy her. Imagine uncovering such a truth alone, the weight of hidden heritage crushing your spirit. Don't leave Demi to bear it in isolation. Subscribe now, or the guilt of missing her emotional unraveling will echo like these forgotten files. Back at the mansion, sunlight filtered through the playroom windows as Demi sat with Natalie. The girl's progress a fragile miracle. Tell me about your favorite story, Demi encouraged, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Natalie, once locked in silence, now formed full sentences. The princess. She hides from the monsters but finds a friend. Her words flowed, clear and tentative, healing the mutism that had gripped her since the kidnapping. Demi hugged her, tears pricking her eyes. You're the bravest princess I know. The triumph swelled like applause in a quiet theater, Natalie's voice of victory over trauma. Davis lingered in the doorway, his expression softening further. That evening, as Natalie slept, he pulled Demi aside in the library, the fire crackling like unspoken secrets. I need to tell you something, Davis said, his ice-cold facade cracking. The kidnapping, it wasn't random. Rivals targeted us, but Victoria, she knew details she shouldn't have. He paced, vulnerability etching his features. Natalie was gone for 3 days. I thought I'd lost her forever. Demi touched his arm, her attraction deepening amid the fear. You're not alone anymore, she whispered. Their eyes met, fostering a romance that felt inevitable yet forbidden. His world of wealth clashing with her shadowed past. But how could she confess her discovery? The internal conflict gnawed, draw closer, or run from the lies building around them. Victoria's escalation came swiftly, like a dagger in the dark. The next morning, alarms blared through the mansion as board members convened via video call in Davis's study. Embezzlement, Davis. One sneered. Funds siphoned from petty cash, traced to your new nanny. Victoria appeared on screen, smug in her tailored suit. It's her. That maid's been skimming. Look at the logs. Her access codes, her shifts. Planted by Hale, no doubt, exploiting your weakness for diversity hires. The racial conspiracy twisted like a knife. Biases exploited to tarnish Davis. Staff whispers amplified. She's not one of us, a guard muttered, eyes narrowing at Demi. Bored voices piled on, laced with prejudice. This invites scandal. Hale's already leaking it. Gilbert's empire infiltrated by an outsider thief. Demi's stomach churned. The framed charges were flawless forgeries, but they preyed on deep-seated doubts. Amid the chaos, Marcus Hale entered the fray, charming as a serpent. He bumped into Demi at a charity gala Davis hosted that night, the mansion's ballroom alive with glittering guests and watchful bodyguards. Ms. Floyd, you're the talk of the town, Marcus said, his smile disarming, eyes gleaming with intent. A woman like you, resilient, beautiful, deserves more than scrubbing floors. He courted her subtly. Compliments on her grace, offers of opportunities at Hale Enterprises. But it was a ploy, a love triangle set up to extract secrets, whispers of mergers, vulnerabilities in Gilbert's deals. Demi felt the pull, her fears clashing with loyalty to Davis. I'm happy where I am, she replied, but his persistence sowed doubt. Imagine the heartache of being torn between worlds, loyalties fracturing like glass. Subscribe to stand with Demi through this betrayal, or the regret of abandoning her in her moment of need will haunt you. Suspense built as the night waned. Davis pulled Demi to the balcony for air, his hand brushing hers. Marcus is dangerous. Stay close. But as they descended the grand staircase, bodyguards flanking like shadows, a black SUV screeched up the drive. Gunfire erupted, bullets shattering marble near Davis's feet. Get down, Demi shouted, her quick thinking kicking in from Foster Street smarts. She shoved him and Natalie, clutched in his arms, behind a column, spotting a guard's hesitation, a mole exposed in the chaos. The drive-by targeted Davis, but grazed Demi's arm instead. Sirens wailed as the vehicle fled, leaving smoke and shattered alliances in its wake. Blood trickled down her sleeve. The assassination attempt had cracked their fragile peace wide open. Demi Floyd paced the marble-floored hallway of the Gilbert mansion, her bandaged arm throbbing from the drive-by graze, a stark reminder of the shadows closing in. The bodyguards had tripled their patrols, their radios buzzing like angry bees, casting long shadows across the walls. She couldn't shake the secret burning in her chest. Her lineage as Davis's half-sister's daughter, an illegitimate heir hidden away. Confronting her growing feelings for him felt like stepping into a minefield, attraction warring with fear, desire tangled in deception. How could she love a man whose blood tied her to this chaos? The threats loomed larger now, Marcus Hale's sly courtship echoing in her mind, a ploy that made her question every glance. Imagine the loneliness of harboring such secrets, the ache of unspoken love. Don't turn away from Demi's turmoil. Subscribe now, or the guilt of leaving her heart exposed in this deception will weigh on you like unspoken regrets. In the nursery, bathed in soft lamplight, Natalie stirred from her nap, her small face lighting up at Demi's approach. "Story time?" the girl asked, her voice stronger each day, a testament to the healing bond they'd forged. Demi sat on the edge of the bed, pulling a worn fairy tale book from the shelf, one she'd found in the archives, its pages yellowed like her hidden past. "Of course, sweetie. The one about the lost princess." As she read, Natalie's hand slipped into hers, warm and trusting. Midway through, the girl interrupted, her eyes wide. "You're like the good fairy, Mommy." The word hung in the air, simple yet shattering. Demi froze, tears blurring her vision. Natalie. Family bonding wrapped around them like a fragile cocoon, Demi's orphaned heart swelling with a maternal love she'd never known. But the joy twisted with pain. If only her own mother hadn't abandoned her to racial shame. How heartbreaking to witness this first Mommy, a moment of pure connection. Subscribe to cherish these tender breakthroughs with Demi, or you'll forever regret not being there for the family she's building from ashes. Davis entered quietly, drawn by the voices, his presence filling the room like a storm cloud parting. He paused at the doorway, witnessing the scene, his usual stoicism cracking into something raw. Later, in the moonlit garden, he found Demi alone on a bench, the scent of night-blooming jasmine heavy in the air. "She called you Mommy," he said, sitting close, too close, their shoulders brushing. Romantic tension simmered, his hand hovering near hers. "You've given her back her voice, Demi. More than that, you've given me hope." Amid the threats, he confided more, the kidnapping's lingering scars, how he'd suspected insiders but never proved it. Demi leaned in, her pulse racing. "I feel it too. This pull. But with everything, the shooting, the lies, I'm scared." Their eyes locked, the air electric, fostering an impulsive romance that defied the dangers swirling around them. Victoria's revelation struck like lightning the next day. She stormed into the mansion unannounced, lawyers in tow, her face a mask of calculated fury. "You think you can play house with my daughter?" she hissed at Demi, thrusting a tablet forward. Davis intercepted, but Victoria's voice rose, urgent and venomous. "The kidnapping, it was an inside job. I orchestrated it for custody to access your wealth. But now, this Maid's dragging you down." The twist landed like a blow, betrayal deepening as Victoria spun her web. "I have proof, tapes, payments. But I'll bury it if you cut her loose." Demi reeled. The woman who'd framed her for embezzlement now confessed to shattering Natalie's world. Staff eavesdropped from the halls, their prejudices fueling the fire. "See, she's trouble," a maid whispered, racial biases sharpening the divide. Rising action escalated as Victoria's manipulation extended to DNA tests. In a private lab meeting, Davis arranged to verify Demi's safety. Results flashed on screen, no relation. But Demi knew the truth from the archives. She was Natalie's half-aunt, blood tying her irrevocably. Victoria smirked from afar, having switched samples to hide the lineage, protecting her own claims. "She's nothing to this family," Victoria declared in a leaked statement. Media frenzy erupted overnight. Paparazzi swarmed the gates, helicopters buzzing overhead. Headlines screamed, CEO's maid mistress? Scandal rocks Gilbert empire. Reporters dissected Demi's role, exploiting racial angles. From mop to mansion. Gold digger or fairy tale? Social media exploded with vitriol. Biases amplified in viral posts. Demi scrolled through the scrutiny in her room, heart sinking. They're tearing us apart, she whispered to her reflection. The mansion felt like a cage, bodyguards barring doors, but the emotional siege was worse. Romantic tension with Davis clashing against the world's judgment. Picture the isolation of media hounds baying at your door, the sting of twisted truths. Don't abandon Demi to this frenzy alone. Hit subscribe, or the remorse of missing her fight for love will linger like these invasive flashes. Family moments provided fleeting refuge. That afternoon, amid the chaos, Natalie tugged Demi to the garden, oblivious to the storm. Mommy, play. They chased butterflies, laughter piercing the tension, bonding in stolen innocence. Davis joined, his hand grazing Demi's waist, a spark amid the threats. But as dusk fell, desperation mounted. Victoria's ultimatum arrived via courier. End it, or I expose everything, the kidnapping, the DNA fraud. Davis crumpled the note in his study, face ashen. I won't lose you both. The cliffhanger ignited on the grand staircase, bodyguards alert as media lights pierced the windows. Davis pulled Demi close, Natalie in his arms. Marry me, he said, voice urgent, high-stakes dialogue echoing the model's dramatic intensity. It's the only way, to protect you, Natalie, everything. We'll fight this together. Demi gasped, the proposal shocking staff and lurking reporters alike. Davis. Yes, she breathed, the impulsive romance sealing amid gasps. Victoria's scream from the doorway shattered the moment. You fool! The world erupted in flashes, everyone stunned by the desperate vow. Demi Floyd stood frozen on the grand staircase of the Gilbert mansion, her heart thundering as Davis Gilbert's words echoed in the chaos. Marry me, he'd said. Natalie clutched in his arms like a shield against the world. The impulsive proposal hung in the air, shocking the staff who hovered like ghosts in the shadows, their faces pale under the floodlights piercing through the gates. Paparazzi swarmed beyond the iron bars, cameras flashing like gunfire, drawn by Victoria's leaked scandals. Davis. Yes, Demi breathed, her voice barely audible over the roar of media frenzy. Forbidden love surged between them, a desperate consummation of the romance that had simmered amid threats and secrets. Bodyguards barked orders, forming a human wall, but the night air crackled with urgency. High-stakes dialogue unfolding like a script from a fevered dream. Victoria's scream sliced through. You fool! She's poisonous! She lunged from the doorway, her eyes wild, but Demi spotted it first, a glint of metal in Victoria's handbag, wires peeking out. Intelligence honed from Foster Streets kicked in. Demi had seen enough makeshift dangers in her past to recognize a bomb. Get back! She shouted, shoving Davis and Natalie aside as she tackled Victoria. The handbag tumbled down the steps, exploding in a controlled burst, Victoria's final plot averted by Demi's quick hands. Smoke billowed, paparazzi capturing the pandemonium, headlines already spinning. CEOs made heroin in bomb scare. Staff gasped, bodyguards swarming to cuff Victoria, her face twisted in defeat. You think this ends it? She spat. She's not who you think. The climax peaked on those steps, love and danger intertwining as Davis pulled Demi close. You saved us, he murmured, sealing their vow with a kiss amid the flashes. Imagine the vulnerability of that moment, love blooming in the explosion's aftermath. Don't abandon Demi now as she steps into this fire. Subscribe, or the guilt of missing her heroic heart will burn like that smoke. The wedding unfolded impulsively, right there on the mansion steps, under the stars and scrutiny. A hurried chaplain arrived via bodyguard escort, the ceremony a whirlwind of vows exchanged with Natalie in Davis's arms, her yellow dress a spot of innocence against the turmoil. "I, Davis Gilbert, take you, Demi Floyd, in danger and in peace," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Demi echoed, her bandaged arm trembling. "For better or worse, through shadows and light." Rings were improvised, Davis's signet for her, a simple band from a guard's pocket for him. Paparazzi clamored, but Demi's grace under pressure shone, her intelligence countering the immediate threats by directing security to jam signals, buying precious minutes. Forbidden love consummated in that raw union, a defiant stand against the veils of deception tearing at their world. Staff applauded tentatively, like echoes of approval in a theater of drama, but Victoria's wail from custody pierced the night. "It's all lies." Rising action intensified as the love triangle reared its head. Marcus Hale, ever the charmer, infiltrated the post-ceremony confusion, slipping through the gates under the guise of concern. In the foyer, amid scattered debris from the bomb, he cornered Demi. "Congratulations, Mrs. Gilbert," he said, his smile slick as oil. "But those embezzlement charges, I can make them vanish. Just whisper a few secrets. Gilbert's merger codes, perhaps." His hand brushed her arm, a ploy to extract intel, intensifying the triangle. Demi's pulse raced, attraction to Davis clashed with Marcus's tempting facade, but her hidden intelligence prevailed. "You think I'm that easy?" she retorted, her voice low and urgent. Drawing on archive knowledge, she countered, "I know about your offshore accounts, Hale. Push me and they surface." Marcus's eyes narrowed, the script-like tension building. Dialogue sharp as knives. "You're playing with fire, Maid." But Demi stood firm, using her wits to shield the empire, her new role as wife fueling her resolve. How isolating to navigate such betrayals alone, love tested by cunning foes. Subscribe to walk this path with Demi, or the remorse of leaving her to counter these threats solo will twist like Marcus's lies. As the night wore on, a gala hastily repurposed in the mansion's ballroom celebrated the union. Guests mingling under chandeliers amid heightened security. Intense, script-like scenes unfolded, champagne flutes clinking, whispers of scandal, Demi's gown, a hurried silk number, swirling as Davis pulled her onto the dance floor. "We're bound now," he whispered, their bodies close, consummating the forbidden love in stolen glances. But Victoria's accomplice lurked, a waiter with a poison chalice, slipping toxin into Demi's glass during a toast. She sipped, the world tilting, collapsing in the dining room reminiscent of her mopping days, the polished floors now a cruel echo. Post-wedding cliffhanger gripped as Demi crumpled. Guests screaming. "Poison!" Davis roared, cradling her. Her vision blurred, but heroic whispers escaped. "Antidote. From my past. Orphan remedies. Baking soda. Vinegar. Rush." Drawing on medical scraps from caring for foster kids. Home cures for toxins, she guided him. Davis raced, mixing the makeshift neutralizer, administering it as her breaths shallowed. Bodyguards sealed the room, exposing the waiter as the mole. Demi's revival came in gasps, heroic amid the drama, but the assassination survival left her weak, eyes locking on Davis. "We fight. Together." The gala dissolved into chaos, love's bond tested by near death, leaving the empire teetering. The ballroom chandelier lights blurred into a hazy glow as Demi stirred, her body heavy from the poison's grip. Davis hovered at her side, his face etched with worry, while medics bustled around the gala's remnants, overturned chairs and shattered glass mirroring the chaos of her near death. Drawing on scraps of knowledge from her orphan days, when she'd nursed sick foster siblings with whatever was at hand, she whispered instructions through labored breaths. Activated charcoal, from the kitchen, mixed with water. Her voice was faint, but resolute, pulling from memories of late-night remedies in dingy group homes. Davis acted swiftly, crushing pills into a slurry, feeding it to her as her vision cleared. Recovery came in waves, her strength returning like a tide, bolstered by the makeshift antidote she'd improvised. The assassin's arrest followed, Victoria's accomplice, unmasked in the dining room where Demi had once mopped floors, now a stage for her survival. Bodyguards dragged him away, but the emotional scar lingered, a reminder of betrayals that cut deeper than any toxin. Picture the fragility of that revival, life hanging by whispered wisdom. Don't walk away from Demi's resilience. Subscribe now, or the guilt of abandoning her in this fight for survival will poison your thoughts like the venom she overcame. As days passed, the mansion transformed into a bunker of strategy. Demi, bandaged but unbowed, pored over security footage with Davis in his study, the air thick with the scent of leather-bound ledgers and fresh coffee. "We can't wait for them to strike again," she said, her intelligence shining through. "Let's stage it, reenact the kidnapping. Lure Victoria's thugs out." Davis nodded, his trust in her deepening, their bond a quiet flame amid the threats. They planned meticulously. Leaks to informants, a vulnerable outing on the mansion steps, bodyguards positioned like chess pieces. Natalie, now speaking in full, eager sentences, was part of the ruse, her recovery a beacon, but the risk gnawed at Demi. Internal conflicts raged. Protect this new family, or shield her secrets. The love triangle's shadow loomed too, Marcus's persistent calls, veiled offers of alliance. But Demi shut them down, her loyalty to Davis unyielding. The climax built under a stormy sky, the mansion's grand steps slick with rain, echoing the image of Davis holding Natalie, bodyguards vigilant in the background. Demi stood exposed, a deliberate bait, her heart pounding as a black van screeched up the drive, just like Natalie's fragmented memories. "Now," Davis signaled, but chaos erupted faster than planned. Victoria's hired thugs piled out, masked and armed, gunfire cracking the air like thunder. Bullets pinged off columns, bodyguards returning fire in a symphony of shouts and ricochets. Demi dove for Natalie, shielding her with her body as an assailant lunged. "Get away from her!" Demi yelled, her voice fierce, drawing on street smarts to disarm him with a swift kick. The little girl clung to her, whispering through tears, "Mommy, safe." In that shield of protection, Natalie's full recovery triggered, a flood of words, screams turning to coherent pleas. "Daddy, help! They're the bad men from before." The mutism shattered completely, her voice a triumphant clarion amid the gunfire. Heartfelt family reunions flickered in the frenzy. Davis firing back, pulling them both into cover, his arms enveloping them. "I've got you," he murmured, the three huddling as bodyguards subdued the attackers. Smoke curled from spent casings, the steps a battlefield of redemption. Demi's courage forging unbreakable ties. How raw the emotion of that shield, a mother's instinct in the crossfire. Subscribe to feel the pulse of this family's rebirth, or the remorse of missing their gunfire-lit reunion will echo in your silence. Rising action surged as revelations solidified. In the aftermath, with thugs in custody, interrogations unveiled threads of Demi's lineage. One captive under pressure spilled. Victoria said the maid's bloodline threatens everything. Half-aunt to the kid, heir through the old partner's side. Davis's eyes widened, turning to Demi. "Is it true?" She nodded, tears streaming, recounting the archive discoveries. Abandoned by a mother ashamed of her race, hidden to preserve purity in elite circles. The family truths hit like aftershocks. Demi as Natalie's half-aunt, her intelligence a legacy from a suppressed line. Davis pulled her close, Natalie between them. "Your family now, always were." The racial shame theme wove through, prejudices exposed in the thug slurs. That mixed blood ain't welcome. But in the heartfelt embrace amid the debris, reunions bloomed, Natalie chattering freely, "Auntie Mommy," her recovery a miracle sparked by Demi's shield. Staff watched, some prejudices cracking, as the trio stood united on those steps, bodyguards forming a protective ring. Emotional confrontations mounted, modeled on sisterly reveals but twisted with maternal betrayal. Victoria, hauled before them in handcuffs, her designer clothes rumpled, faced Demi in the foyer. "You," Victoria sneered, eyes locking like mirrors of shared features. "Who are you to steal my life?" Demi stepped forward, voice steady but laced with pain. "I'm the daughter you threw away. Because of my skin. My blood." The air thickened, dialogue urgent and raw. Victoria laughed bitterly, then crumbled. "Yes. I abandoned you. Racial shame. They'd have cut me out, the family, the wealth. You're mine, but I couldn't bear the stain." The final betrayal twist landed, revealing her as Demi's biological mother, a confession wrung from defeat. "I switched the DNA, hid it all, to keep you buried." Tears flowed, sisterly echoes in their confrontation. Jealousy, cruelty unraveling into regret. Demi reeled, the weight of family truths crashing down. "How could you?" she whispered, heartache raw. Davis supported her, Natalie watching wide-eyed. The cliffhanger hung as Victoria was led away, her parting words a venomous promise. "This isn't over. Blood doesn't forgive." The boardroom of Gilbert Resort's corporate headquarters thrummed with tension, the air thick with the scent of polished oak and stale ambition. Sunlight sliced through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting harsh shadows on the long mahogany table where board members sat like vultures, their suits crisp and expressions guarded. It was 9:55 a.m. West Africa time on Friday, October 24th, 2025, and the clock ticked relentlessly toward a reckoning. Davis Gilbert occupied the head, his jaw set, while whispers rippled among the allies of Victoria and Marcus Hale. Prejudiced murmurs about outsiders infiltrating the empire. The climax brewed like a storm, documents clutched in hidden folders, ready to shatter illusions. Demi entered last, her presence a quiet force, dressed in a tailored suit that masked the scars of her past but amplified her newfound authority. She carried the archive's revelations, authentic papers proving her lineage as the illegitimate daughter of Davis's half-sister, embezzlement forgeries traced to Victoria, and Hale's underhanded deals with offshore accounts. As she took her seat beside Davis, eyes narrowed on her, laced with racial biases she'd faced since her arrival. "Let's begin," Davis said, voice steady, supporting her rise with a nod. The room fell silent, all eyes on the woman who'd risen from mopping floors to this pivotal moment. The meeting opened with a barrage of accusations. A wiry board member, Mr. Hargrove, leaned forward, his voice dripping with disdain. "This Maid has destabilized us. Embezzlement charges, security breaches, Hale's right to question her influence." Marcus Hale, seated with a smug grin, nodded. "Gilbert Resorts can't survive with such liabilities. I propose a vote to oust Davis and install new leadership, me." The room buzzed, some nodding, others exchanging uneasy glances. Racial prejudice hung like a fog, whispers of "she doesn't belong" slithering through the ranks. Davis slammed a fist on the table. "Enough. Demi has evidence to counter this." She stood, her hands trembling but voice firm. "You've judged me by my skin, my past, not my actions. But I've uncovered the truth." She spread the documents across the table. Birth records linking her to the Gilbert bloodline, forensic analysis of the forged theft logs, and emails between Victoria and Hale plotting the frame-up. Gasps rippled as she continued, her speech a powerful crescendo. "Equality isn't a privilege for the elite. It's a right. I was abandoned for my race, hidden to protect this empire's purity. But I'm here to rebuild it, not tear it down." Victoria and Hale conspired. Kidnapping, sabotage, all to seize control. Her words struck like thunder, ousting conspirators as board members shifted, some nodding in reluctant respect. The climax peaked with a vote. Hargrove and his allies out, Davis and Demi's leadership affirmed. Applause broke out, tentative but growing, a theater of justice against prejudice. Imagine the weight of that victory, a voice rising from silence. Don't turn away from Demi's triumph. Subscribe now, or the guilt of missing her stand against injustice will linger like these shadows. Rising action surged as corporate rivals were exposed. Post-meeting, investigators raided Hale Enterprises, unearthing the offshore accounts Demi had threatened to reveal. Marcus's betrayal unmasked, his love triangle ploy a calculated move to extract merger codes, crumbled under evidence of his deals with Victoria. Davis confronted him in the lobby, bodyguards flanking. "You used her," Davis growled. Marcus smirked, then faltered as police cuffed him. She was a means to an end. The love triangle resolved with Demi's loyalty to Davis solidified, her intelligence outwitting the charmer. Davis turned to her, pride in his eyes. "You've saved us again. Rise with me, co-CEO." Her empowerment arc blossomed, a journey from maid to mogul, supported by his unwavering trust. Staff began to soften, some offering quiet apologies. The empire rebuilding on a foundation of merit over bias. Picture the relief of that support, a family forged in fire. Subscribe to witness Demi's ascent, or the remorse of abandoning her in this rebirth will haunt you like a lost legacy. The day wore on, the mansion buzzing with legal teams and media crews outside, their lenses probing the drama. Demi worked late in Davis's study, drafting policies to diversify the board, her mind racing with ideas born from her orphan resilience. Natalie joined her, chattering about school, her full recovery a constant joy. "Auntie Mommy, you're the boss now," she giggled, climbing into Demi's lap. Family moments warmed the cold room, Davis watching with a rare smile. But tension lingered. Victoria's imprisonment loomed as a loose thread. The cliffhanger ignited as dusk fell. A guard burst into the study, breathless. Victoria's escaped. Prison transport ambushed. Sirens wailed in the distance, bodyguards rushing to secure the perimeter. Demi's heart sank. The final ploy had begun. Moments later, the mansion's front gates rattled as a black SUV barreled through, Victoria leaping out, her face a mask of desperation. "Demi, face me!" she screamed, brandishing a gun wrested from a guard. Bodyguards tackled her, but she broke free, charging up the steps. That mixed blood ain't welcome. But in the heartfelt embrace amid the debris, reunions bloomed, Natalie chattering freely, "Auntie Mommy," her recovery a miracle sparked by Demi's shield. Staff watched, some prejudices cracking, as the trio stood united on those steps, bodyguards forming a protective ring. Emotional confrontations mounted, modeled on sisterly reveals but twisted with maternal betrayal. Victoria, hauled before them in handcuffs, her designer clothes rumpled, faced Demi in the foyer. "You," Victoria sneered, eyes locking like mirrors of shared features. "Who are you to steal my life?" Demi stepped forward, voice steady but laced with pain. "I'm the daughter you threw away. Because of my skin. My blood." The air thickened, dialogue urgent and raw. Victoria laughed bitterly, then crumbled. "Yes. I abandoned you. Racial shame. They'd have cut me out, the family, the wealth. You're mine, but I couldn't bear the stain." The final betrayal twist landed, revealing her as Demi's biological mother, a confession wrung from defeat. "I switched the DNA, hid it all to keep you buried." Tears flowed, sisterly echoes in their confrontation. Jealousy, cruelty unraveling into regret. Demi reeled, the weight of family truths crashing down. "How could you?" she whispered, heartache raw. Davis supported her, Natalie watching wide-eyed. The cliffhanger hung as Victoria was led away, her parting words of venomous promise. "This isn't over. Blood doesn't forgive." The boardroom of Gilbert Resort's corporate headquarters thrummed with tension, the air thick with the scent of polished oak and stale ambition. Sunlight sliced through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting harsh shadows on the long mahogany table where board members sat like vultures, their suits crisp and expressions guarded. It was 9:55 a.m. West Africa time on Friday, October 24th, 2025, and the clock ticked relentlessly toward a reckoning. Davis Gilbert occupied the head, his jaw set, while whispers rippled among the allies of Victoria and Marcus Hale. Prejudiced murmurs about outsiders infiltrating the empire. The climax brewed like a storm, documents clutched in hidden folders, ready to shatter illusions. Demi entered last, her presence a quiet force, dressed in a tailored suit that masked the scars of her past but amplified her newfound authority. She carried the archive's revelations, authentic papers proving her lineage as the illegitimate daughter of Davis's half-sister, embezzlement forgeries traced to Victoria, and Hale's underhanded deals with offshore accounts. As she took her seat beside Davis, eyes narrowed on her, laced with racial biases she'd faced since her arrival. "Let's begin," Davis said, voice steady, supporting her rise with a nod. The room fell silent, all eyes on the woman who'd risen from mopping floors to this pivotal moment. The meeting opened with a barrage of accusations. A wiry board member, Mr. Hargrove, leaned forward, his voice dripping with disdain. "This Maid has destabilized us. Embezzlement charges, security breaches, Hale's right to question her influence." Marcus Hale, seated with a smug grin, nodded. "Gilbert Resorts can't survive with such liabilities. I propose a vote to oust Davis and install new leadership me." The room buzzed, some nodding, others exchanging uneasy glances. Racial prejudice hung like a fog, whispers of "she doesn't belong" slithering through the ranks. Davis slammed a fist on the table. "Enough. Demi has evidence to counter this." She stood, her hands trembling but voice firm. "You've judged me by my skin, my past, not my actions. But I've uncovered the truth." She spread the documents across the table. Birth records linking her to the Gilbert bloodline, forensic analysis of the forged theft logs, and emails between Victoria and Hale plotting the frame-up. Gasps rippled as she continued, her speech a powerful crescendo. "Equality isn't a privilege for the elite. It's a right. I was abandoned for my race, hidden to protect this empire's purity. But I'm here to rebuild it, not tear it down. Victoria and Hale conspired. Kidnapping, sabotage, all to seize control." Her words struck like thunder, ousting conspirators as board members shifted, some nodding in reluctant respect. The climax peaked with a vote. Hargrove and his allies out, Davis and Demi's leadership affirmed. Applause broke out, tentative but growing, a theater of justice against prejudice. Imagine the weight of that victory, a voice rising from silence. Don't turn away from Demi's triumph. Subscribe now, or the guilt of missing her stand against injustice will linger like these shadows. Rising action surged as corporate rivals were exposed. Post-meeting, investigators raided Hale Enterprises, unearthing the offshore accounts Demi had threatened to reveal. Marcus's betrayal unmasked, his love triangle ploy a calculated move to extract merger codes, crumbled under evidence of his deals with Victoria. Davis confronted him in the lobby, bodyguards flanking. "You used her," Davis growled. Marcus smirked, then faltered as police cuffed him. She was a means to an end. The love triangle resolved with Demi's loyalty to Davis solidified, her intelligence outwitting the charmer. Davis turned to her, pride in his eyes. "You've saved us again. Rise with me, co-CEO." Her empowerment arc blossomed, a journey from maid to mogul, supported by his unwavering trust. Staff began to soften, some offering quiet apologies. The empire rebuilding on a foundation of merit over bias. Picture the relief of that support, a family forged in fire. Subscribe to witness Demi's ascent, or the remorse of abandoning her in this rebirth will haunt you like a lost legacy. The day wore on, the mansion buzzing with legal teams and media crews outside, their lenses probing the drama. Demi worked late in Davis's study, drafting policies to diversify the board, her mind racing with ideas born from her orphan resilience. Natalie joined her, chattering about school, her full recovery a constant joy. "Auntie Mommy, you're the boss now," she giggled, climbing into Demi's lap. Family moments warmed the cold room, Davis watching with a rare smile. But tension lingered. Victoria's imprisonment loomed as a loose thread. The cliffhanger ignited as dusk fell. A guard burst into the study, breathless. Victoria's escaped. Prison transport ambushed. Sirens wailed in the distance, bodyguards rushing to secure the perimeter. Demi's heart sank. The final ploy had begun. Moments later, the mansion's front gates rattled as a black SUV barreled through, Victoria leaping out, her face a mask of desperation. "Demi! Face me!" she screamed, brandishing a gun wrested from a guard. Bodyguards tackled her, but she broke free, charging up the steps. But the cliffhanger loomed as night fell. A guard burst into the study, radio crackling with urgency. "Sir, a threat detected. Encrypted message from Hale's remnants. They're planning a strike, targeting the family." Davis's face hardened, pulling Demi and Natalie close as the clock struck 10:30 p.m. West Africa time. The final threat tested their bond, a whisper of danger from rivals unwilling to let the empire rise unchallenged. Outside, bodyguards scanned the darkening grounds, tension crackling like static, the silhouette of a drone hovering beyond the gates. Demi's heart raced. Had justice come too soon? The confrontation awaited, their unity now the target. How fragile this newfound peace, a family on the brink. Don't abandon them to the shadow. Subscribe now, or the guilt of missing their stand will haunt you like the echoes of gunfire past. The grand foyer of the Gilbert mansion shimmered with warm light, the chandeliers casting a golden glow over the polished marble where staff moved with a renewed sense of purpose. It was 10:20 a.m. West Africa time on Friday, October 24, 2025, and the air carried the delicate fragrance of fresh roses arranged for a family gathering. Laughter danced through the space as Natalie skipped between the legs of bodyguards, now at ease in their vigilance, her yellow dress a vibrant splash of joy. Davis Gilbert stood by the ornate fireplace, his usual stern demeanor softened, his eyes tracing the scene with a quiet smile. Demi Floyd stepped from the study, a sheaf of signed contracts in hand, her role as co-CEO cemented after the night's threat had been quelled. The encrypted message from Hale's remnants had triggered a decisive raid, dismantling the last conspiracies. Moles rounded up, rival networks crushed, Victoria's influence obliterated. She joined Davis and Natalie, their hands linking naturally, love affirmed in the steady strength of their bond. "We've made it," Davis murmured, his voice rich with pride. "Together." Natalie tugged at Demi's sleeve, her eyes bright. "Tell the story again, how you saved us, Auntie Mommy." Demi chuckled, crouching to envelop her in a hug, the trio forming a perfect circle of resilience against the trials they'd endured. All conspiracies lay in ruins, justice served, and their love stood unassailable. Imagine the warmth of that embrace, a family forged in fire. Don't turn from their victory. Subscribe now, or the guilt of missing this love's triumph will linger like a shadow on your heart. The falling action unfolded with reflective monologues as the morning progressed. In the garden, Demi settled on a wrought iron bench. The jasmine sent a poignant echo of her first days mopping the hotel dining room, where the clink of glasses and the aroma of polish had framed her humble beginnings. She traced the faint scars on her arm, remnants of gunfire and poison, and let her thoughts drift. "I was lost, cast aside for my race, but Natalie gave me a voice, Davis a home," she mused silently. The prejudice she'd faced, from staff whispers to boardroom scorn, had dissolved under her resolve, a testament to an inclusive future now within reach. Davis joined her, his hand resting on her shoulder. I built walls to shield myself, but you dismantled them. We're stronger for it. Their reflections wove a denouement of healing. The mansion's once cold halls now alive with laughter and purpose. Staff mingled with ease, a butler sharing a warm greeting, a maid offering tea with a genuine smile, the old biases fading into memory. The empire stood as a beacon, its rebirth a full circle of love, justice, and new beginnings. Picture the peace in that reflection, scars transformed into strength. Subscribe to savor this healing, or the remorse of abandoning their journey will haunt you like a forgotten tune. Triumphant family moments punctuated the day. In the sunlit playroom, Natalie orchestrated a tea party, her dolls arranged with meticulous care. "Daddy, pour for Mommy," she chirped, giggling as Davis obliged, his laughter a rare melody. Demi sipped imaginary tea, her gaze meeting Davis's over the rim, a silent affirmation of their bond. "To us," he toasted, and they clinked cups, Natalie clapping with delight. Later they wandered the grounds, the mansion's steps, once a stage for chaos, now a backdrop for unity, echoing the image of bodyguards standing guard with pride rather than tension. Celebratory dialogues flowed freely. "You're my hero," Natalie declared to Demi, who blushed. "And you're mine," Demi replied, lifting her high. Davis added, "We're a team forever." The sensory closure tied back to Chapter 1, the clink of glasses replaced by laughter, the scent of polish by blooming roses, a hopeful scene sealing their arc. How joyful the sound of that laughter, a family whole. Subscribe to hold this moment dear, or the guilt of missing their new beginning will echo in your silence. The denouement deepened with subtle hints of future adventures. As evening painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, the trio stood on the balcony, overlooking the estate where drones had once threatened. "What's next?" Natalie asked, her curiosity a bright spark. Davis smiled, his arm around Demi. "Maybe a trip, somewhere new, just us." Demi nodded, her mind drifting to the outreach program she planned, a legacy for others like her from underprivileged roots. "And more stories to tell," she added, winking at Natalie. The hint of future journeys lingered, a family strengthened, ready to face whatever lay ahead, their bond unbreakable. The mansion's lights twinkled below, a symbol of their triumph, but a distant hum suggested rivals might stir again, a whisper of challenges to come. How hopeful that horizon, a promise of more. Don't abandon them at this threshold. Subscribe now, or the regret of missing their next chapter will weigh on you like a tale untold.